Good evening, Otherworldlies. This is Queen Juliana, your Dark Mask Diva. Alright, so I'm going to give you a heads up on why that person you were dating short term, or maybe, the relationship was like 4 or 5 months or whatever. Maybe it was a few weeks. It was like a short-term relationship. Maybe you were dating for a little while and that person suddenly decided they didn't want to go out with you anymore. Maybe they even ghosted you. Okay, they were dating you. They really didn't tell you why. And they had their reasons. Okay, and you didn't get it. They just don't want to see you anymore. And I'm going to tell you why it probably happened. Okay, it's because you embarrassed them. You did something that was some kind of social gaffe, and they decided they didn't want to talk to you about it. They decided they just kind of wanted to just kind of take the L and be on their way. All right, so I'm going to tell you what may have happened. Okay, and the reason why they didn't want to talk to you about it is because they thought it was just a fundamental core part of your personality, and they thought that you would just explain it away, or you would just say it's because I care about you, or you would just find some excuse for why you did it, or it's just something you couldn't change. Okay, so they thought talking to you about it wouldn't do any good. So they just knew that they had to just trash the whole relationship. All right, they knew it wasn't going to work out. So I'm going to tell you what happened. All right, so this is one thing that could have happened. All right, so one thing that could have happened is you could have been spending most of your relationship behind closed doors, like in the house or whatever. You could have been doing a lot of Netflix and chill and really getting to know each other, just the two of you. And then you started going out in public, and they started seeing the way you behave out in public. Okay, and they started seeing that you have actually bad table manners, or that you don't have a whole lot of social graces, like you don't really get along with other people, or you just act kind of awkward around other people. Okay, well, they may be one of those people where that's a big deal to them. Okay, they may come from one of those families where social awkwardness just isn't an option. Okay, they may come from a family where it's really important that you be socially graceful. Okay, or they just may be one of those people where they just don't have they just have low tolerance for that kind of stuff. They just can't. They're too embarrassed by it. I guess there's no other way to say it. They just can't deal with it. Like it's too embarrassing for them, and they don't want to have to go through life explaining your behavior to people. Okay, they don't want to have to make up the difference and say, oh, that's just his way, that's just her way. He or she didn't mean it. Don't take that personally, and they don't want to have to keep putting up with it and being like, oh God, not again. They just don't want to have to go through life dealing with that kind of thing. And their public image is actually very important to them, and it's just part of their morals and what's important to them, and social mores and all of that sort of thing. So you've embarrassed them in that way somehow. So you were fine behind closed doors because you didn't exhibit any of those behaviors. So you were fine getting to know them when it was just the two of you, but around other people you just don't act right. Okay, so here's another thing. Let's just say maybe they are out of your league a little bit, and you are literally obsessed with them. So you talk about them to your friends all the time. okay? Because people are like, wow, I can't believe you pulled that person, right? So you're like, yeah. And you talk about them all the time. And then you started talking about how, they're a little moody sometimes, and you start talking about their bad points, and you start talking about their flaws, and you start talking about them in a bad light, and you start talking about their problems, and you just start talking about all these things that are really nobody's business, okay? And you just start talking about all these personal things about them, all right, that nobody really needs to know, and you just start talking about them all the time. Okay, here's the thing. People don't like that. All right. And then, it's getting to where you're actually gossiping about them. And you're talking about them constantly to people. It gets back to them. Okay. Well, that's not going to go over very well. And they decide they're just not going to confront you about it. And they decide they just need to do away with you. They're just, they're going to just trash the whole relationship. Just get rid of the whole relationship. They don't even want to confront you about it, because several people have come up to them and said the same exact thing, that you're talking about their mood swings, you're talking about their spending habits, you're talking about whatever you think they do wrong, but you're going to put up with it because they're so darn good looking, and they're so darn charismatic, and they're so this, they're so that. You can't believe someone that looks like them is going to go out, looks like you is going to go out with them. They can't believe how lucky they are, but yeah, you sure do have your mood swings, and you have bipolar, and whatever else you've been saying about them. But you're tired of everybody being in your business, and you're getting rid of them. And so yeah, people don't like when you do that. People don't like when you talk about their business like that. So they are going to get rid of you for talking about them, even though you're talking about all their positive traits, even though you're saying, yeah, I'm lucky to be with them or whatever. But but I know you're throwing shade, because you're also saying bad things too. You're also letting them know this person is only human. Well, nobody likes to be talked about, and nobody likes when you're obsessed. People who have any sense in their head know that obsession is not love. I mean, at first you get a little flattered that somebody loves you that much. They think it's love, but then they realize obsession is not love. Obsession is a form of mental illness. Okay, and when someone is obsessed with you, they start smothering you. They start talking down to you and being condescending and treating you like an object, and that's not even okay. And so and then they just can't stop talking about you, and the more they talk about you, the more they exaggerate and fabricate, and that's not cool. And pretty soon you're the only thing that they can talk about, and they're going to get rid of you for doing that. Okay, because that's not very cash money of you. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't make this person the center of your universe and constantly be talking about them, whether it's good, it's bad, it's ugly. You're defaming their character. You shouldn't be talking about somebody else all the time. And I'm going to say something that people may or may not disagree with. You shouldn't be talking about your partner and telling people their business. You shouldn't, especially if it's a new relationship. You really shouldn't. You really shouldn't be talking about somebody personally like that. You should be keeping your relationship business to yourself. I mean, it's between you and that person. So you definitely shouldn't be talking about some new person. When you're dating somebody, you should not be that obsessed with them. That's somebody you're just getting to know. Or you're in a new relationship with somebody. That's another separate human being. You should not be that obsessed with somebody. Okay? You need to have main character energy. You need to be into yourself, into your own goals. That other person is just somebody separate who's on the journey with you. You don't need to be focused on them and obsessed with them and be a psycho about it, okay? And when that person sees how obsessed you are to the point where you're talking about them all the time, they are going to run. All right. Now here's another thing that a lot of people in modern day society do not understand. Let's say hypothetically somebody set you up on a blind date. It's like mutual friends set you up. Okay, say like you're a guy and you take this girl out, okay? You want to impress her, but maybe you kind of don't know better and you ask her if she wants to go Dutch. Okay, two friends set you up and she doesn't say anything at the time, but she kind of ghosts you afterwards. She went along on the date, she didn't say anything, but she kind of thought you weren't being a gentleman for asking her a question like that. All right, you won't believe this, but a lot of women are offended by that. All right, because sometimes your first thought is, he thinks I'm ugly. He's friend zoning me. I know you're like, what? I thought every woman was a feminist. No, not every woman is a feminist. Some women want providers. Some women want guys to be a gentleman, okay? And so when women are looking for gentlemen and looking for providers, they're looking for guys who want to pay for the date. If, you know, we're not looking to go 50-50. Not all of us are looking to go 50-50. Some of us want a good old-fashioned gentleman who wants to pay for the date, okay? It's, you know, if there's this 50-50 thing going on, we just assume that it's a friend zone. A lot of women feel that way. So, I mean, you know, maybe a lot of people are like, well, I met my wife that way and I'm still the provider. Well, good for you. But a lot of people think that means friend zone. So a lot of people will go through with the date and just kind of in the back of their mind, you know, they think, oh, well, he's really just not attracted to me. And that's just like a subtle clue, okay? Because I have talked to women where they're like, yeah, the guy wanted to go 50-50 on the date. He wouldn't make eye contact with me. He was on his phone the whole time. It was just, the whole date was a disaster. I can't believe both of us went through with the date. Yeah, you know, and you could tell right away, you know, when the guy wants to pay for the date, he buys all the drinks, he buys all the food, he's attentive. It's a whole nother vibe, you know, so that could have been it. So those are some clues, okay? Yeah, you don't you don't want to be obsessive. You don't want to talk about somebody. You don't want to talk about your sex life with somebody. Don't tell people about your sex life. Don't tell people about what you do in the bedroom. If I overheard some story, if someone talked about what I did with somebody, I would just think that person had no class. Absolutely not. I mean, especially if they made something up, I would be appalled. Yeah, that would be a ghost, and that's just insane. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that, but those are some clues. Just don't ever, you know, just don't ever become obsessed with someone and talk about them all the time. That's just some mental illness right there. So those are some reasons that they may have ghosted you. Now, not everybody is going to agree with this, but those are some clues. And I hope that this helped somebody, and I love you all, and I will see you in the next content. Bye-bye.